In 1968, something deeply unsettling unfolded beneath the world's oceans. Within just 4 months, 4 submarines, from 4 different nations, disappeared. No distress calls, no survivors, no clear explanation. These were not outdated vessels or experimental machines. They were advanced submarines, operated by experienced crews, during one of the most tense periods in modern history. And yet, one by one, they vanished. Was it coincidence? Or is there something more disturbing hidden beneath the surface? The first disappearance came in January of 1968. The submarine was the INS Dakar. Originally built in Britain during the Second World War, the vessel had been modernized decades later and sold to Israel. By the late 1960s, it had been fully upgraded and placed into service with a trained crew of 69. On January 9th, the Dakar departed from Portsmouth, England. Its destination, Haifa. The journey was expected to take less than 3 weeks. For most of the voyage, everything appeared normal. The submarine maintained regular communication, sending updates as it moved through the Mediterranean. But on January 24th, that changed. A final transmission was sent that evening. There was no indication of trouble, no warning signs, no distress. After that, silence. By the following day, the Dakar was officially declared missing. A large-scale search operation began almost immediately. Israeli forces, along with international support, combed the Mediterranean using ships, aircraft, and sonar systems. Nothing was found. It was as if the submarine had simply disappeared. More than 30 years later, in 1999, the wreck was finally located. It rested nearly 3,000 meters below the surface, between Cyprus and Crete. The hull had split into 2 sections, but even with the wreck discovered, the cause remained uncertain. Mechanical failure, collision, even sabotage. Each possibility has been suggested, but none have been confirmed. Just 2 days later, another submarine vanished. This time, it was the French submarine Minerva. Commissioned in 1964, the Minerva was a modern diesel-electric submarine known for its reliability. On January 27th, it set out on a routine training mission near the southern coast of France, close to Toulon. That morning, the sea conditions were rough, with strong winds and heavy waves, but nothing outside of what crews were trained to handle. At 7:55 a.m., the Minerva sent a routine update. Everything appeared normal. Moments later, it was gone. No distress signal, no emergency message. The submarine never returned. France launched an extensive search effort, deploying ships and aircraft across the region. Even renowned oceanographer Jacques Cousteau joined the operation, using advanced equipment to scan the seafloor. Still, nothing. For over 50 years, the Minerva remained lost. It wasn't until 2019 that its wreckage was finally discovered, resting more than 2,300 meters below the surface, about 45 kilometers from Toulon. The damage suggested a sudden and catastrophic event, but once again, the exact cause could not be determined. What made this case especially unsettling was how close the submarine was to safety. It disappeared just miles from its home port. At this point, 2 submarines had vanished within days of each other, but the pattern didn't stop there. Far from the Mediterranean, in the vast waters of the Pacific Ocean, a 3rd submarine would soon be lost. This was the Soviet K-129, a ballistic missile submarine armed with nuclear weapons and designed for strategic deterrence during the Cold War. On February 24, 1968, It departed from its base in the Soviet Far East. Its mission was classified. For weeks, the submarine operated in silence, as expected. Then, sometime in early March, it failed to report in. At first, Soviet officials assumed a communications delay, but as time passed, concern grew. A massive search operation followed. Dozens of ships and aircraft scanned a wide area of the Pacific. No trace was found. However, the United States had detected something. Using an underwater listening system designed to monitor submarine activity, American forces recorded an unusual acoustic event, an explosion. The signal was traced to a location northwest of Hawaii. Based on that data, the wreck of the K-129 was eventually located, nearly 5,000 meters below the ocean's surface. The submarine had been destroyed. Years later, in 1974, the CIA launched a highly secretive mission known as Project Azorian. Its objective was unprecedented: recover parts of the sunken submarine from the ocean floor. To do this, a specialized ship called the Glomar Explorer was constructed under the cover of a deep-sea mining project. The operation cost hundreds of millions of dollars. Using a massive retrieval system, the crew managed to lift a portion of the wreck. What exactly was recovered remains partially classified. Some reports mention torpedoes, equipment, and human remains, but the full details have never been made public. The cause of the K-129's destruction remains debated. Some suggest mechanical failure or an internal explosion. Others believe it may have collided with an American submarine. There are even theories of sabotage or attempted defection. None have been definitively proven. By this point, 3 submarines had disappeared within a matter of weeks, but one final case would complete the pattern. In May of 1968, the USS Scorpion, a nuclear-powered submarine of the United States Navy, was returning from deployment in the Mediterranean. It had spent weeks tracking Soviet naval activity during a time of intense geopolitical tension. On May 21st, the submarine sent a routine message reporting its position and estimated arrival in Norfolk, Virginia. There were no signs of distress. 5 days later, it failed to arrive. A search operation was launched immediately. After weeks of effort, the wreck was found in the Atlantic Ocean, southwest of the Azores. It lay more than 3,000 meters below the surface. The submarine had broken apart. The damage indicated a sudden and violent event. The official explanation pointed to a malfunctioning torpedo detonating inside the vessel. But not everyone accepted this conclusion. Declassified documents later revealed that Soviet forces may have been tracking an American submarine in the region. Some believe the Scorpion may have been involved in a covert encounter. Others point to known mechanical issues aboard the vessel prior to its final mission. Even today, the exact cause remains uncertain. In the span of just 4 months, 4 submarines disappeared: the INS Dakar, the Minerva, the K-129, and the USS Scorpion. Different nations, different oceans, different circumstances, yet all lost without clear explanation. Were these isolated incidents, or part of a larger pattern that has yet to be understood? Even now, decades later, these events remain unresolved. The oceans still hold their secrets, and the silence remains. What do you think happened? Coincidence, conflict, or something we still don't fully understand?